Welcome back to the White, Gray, Black Weekly Manga Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about all of your favorite ongoing Japanese manga. My name is Bruce. I am the proprietor of the White, Gray, Black YouTube channel. With me again this week is Gautam.
What's up?
This week, we're going to give some recommendations for brand new manga readers or people looking to get into reading manga. And there are a lot of different types of people who might be interested in starting to read some manga, so we have some suggestions for all of you. Also, put your hands together because it is our 1-year podcasting anniversary, so stick around.
Hell yeah.
So, a quick little intro, I guess. Most people probably know what manga is, but in case you don't, manga are Japanese comic books. The big thing to know is that when you're reading them, they are generally read, the words are still read left to right, but the pages are read right to left. So, right to left, top to bottom, that's sort of the big thing to be on the lookout here. We're going to start with some suggestions for specific tastes you may have. We'll end with one kind of big general suggestion and start with one also, I guess. A quick disclaimer before we start. I looked at this list and I said, hey, we're kind of missing an angle here. So the disclaimer here is if you're looking for a shoujo or josei suggestion, we don't really have that here. Neither of us read really deeply into those genres. So I don't think we could really give a good recommendation of that. So there isn't one here. If you would like one of those, I'm going to direct you to a YouTube channel called Colleen's Manga Rex. She's a great little YouTube creator. And the overlap of series that I do have experience with tells me that she has good taste. Shout out to her Chihayafuru video, which I think is amazing. So let's get right into it. The first, I guess, group of people that I want to make a suggestion to here is massive anime watcher who hasn't read any manga. I was this once upon a time, a couple of years ago. Maybe I had read one or two, but Gautam, you got me more into reading manga with, honestly, nothing that's on this list, but some of the stuff maybe 5 or 6 years ago that might have been. But I think this is a large population of you out here. So if this is you who's watched anime for years and maybe has only picked up one or two manga and is saying, hey, I'd like to read more. I hear people talking about this a lot. I see this on Twitter. I'm going to get into it. So what is my suggestion if you are, you've watched all this anime, you're big into the big anime, what do I suggest that you go and read? My suggestion for you is to go read DanDaDan by Tatsu Yukinobu. This series is on Jump Plus. You can read the first, I think, 3 chapters for free on Manga Plus in the West. Why do I think this is a good starter? The reason I think this is a good starter manga is, one, it's good. And I think that all 10 things we have recommended here are obviously good quality series. I think you don't want to recommend someone start with something bad. The other thing I would say is that if you're well experienced with anime and you know a lot about different genres, you know about, let's say, the mech genre or, battle shonen like Bleach and Naruto and stuff like that, this kind of has a little bit of everything in it. If you like Tokyo Ghoul and stuff like that, this has a lot of the sort of yokai elements and stuff like that, but there's a whole arc that's kind of a mech battle thing. There's a whole arc that's a little bit more horror focused. It's got all the stuff in there. The art is amazing, so you're not going to be disappointed. The art, I also think, is really kinetic, which I think a lot of anime... The thing that I think keeps a lot of anime watchers from moving into manga is like, well, I'd rather see it in motion. I'd rather hear it voiced. I'd rather hear it with music and stuff like that. Play your own music. The music and the voice we can't do for you. But a good action series like DanDaDan has really kinetic and well-paneled action, which is going to make the transition from anime really easy for you. And this series, I mean, if you've listened to the podcast in the past, Gautam and I rave about DanDaDan. I honestly think it's one of the best things being published right now. Excellent action. Every chapter, every week is awesome. It's not too long right now. Maybe 100, 110 chapters, something like that. 110, 120, I think. But yeah, I mean, I cannot stress enough how if you're just into sort of the general popular anime and there's no shame in that. There's a ton of people who are like that. I think if you go and read the first 3 chapters of DanDaDan for free and then maybe pay $2 to read the rest of it, I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to become a member of the fan club like Gautam and I are, who are like waiting on the edge of our seat for an anime adaptation, because this one absolutely kills. Gautam, anything you want to add to DanDaDan here?
It just does everything well. I think it juggles like so many different things, but it doesn't drop one single ball. And I don't know how the author keeps it this freaking tight, but it is. So yeah, go check it out. I guarantee fun, because it is just a blast to read through.
Yeah, it's a really excellent series. It especially, I think, if you already have, like I mentioned, obviously at the top, if you're already familiar with anime and the tropes and stuff like that, this one is such an easy slide in. It just works on all those levels. You're already familiar with the way, a Japanese high school works and stuff like that. Like, this is it's just easy. It's just an action, it's just a straightforward. Well, it's not super straightforward, but it is an across-the-plate, action battle shonen, and it's one of, if not the best one right now. So,
agreed. Yeah, it's the Chainsaw Man season you haven't seen yet in manga
exactly.
form. So go read it.
Yep. So, Gautam, tell me about the avid Dungeons and Dragons player / high fantasy lover.
Yeah. So for the active D&D player, or even the non-active D&D player, it really doesn't get better than Dungeon Meshi. I don't think the fantasy genre is like incredibly prevalent in anime and manga. You see it everywhere, but no one does pure fantasy better than Dungeon Meshi. And this thing wrapped up too, so anyone who wants can just read the whole thing. Anime release coming soon. But Dungeon Meshi is just so incredibly charming. I think it captures what makes kind of a fantasy adventure fun. It has endearing characters, an underdog story, and a group of adventurers kind of making their way through a dungeon and succeeding in sometimes the stupidest ways. But it's all incredibly relatable with how normal D&D parties work. Your party is just a bunch of misfit buffoons, but they're all lovable, and that's what this is. I think in regards to writing serious beats, it somehow does it incredibly well while tying into the theme of just eating a bunch of monsters in dungeons. So, go check it out. I think give it maybe like 5 or 6 chapters. The plot scales incredibly quickly, but in a satisfying way. And it after reading the ending, I will say it is very satisfying. So don't worry, it nails that part too.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point, which is, I think, if you're familiar with, if you've played Dungeons or Dragons, or if you've read a lot of high fantasy, it usually starts kind of slow, right? Sometimes in the first session of D&D, you'll go in and be like, here's the big bad, and that's who you're chasing. But a lot of times it's like, you fight some rats or some goblins in a town, you do kind of normal everyday stuff, and it scales up, right? I mean, the classic high fantasy is boy on a farm, stuff like that. This kind of has the same momentum as those, which is why I think this is a really good suggestion for the high fantasy novel reader or the Dungeons and Dragons player, because you're going to get that same sort of introduction to these fun characters, and they're doing goofy stuff, and then the turn to kind of more serious themes and things comes pretty quick, but it doesn't totally swap over. It kind of introduces them and then interweaves them. And yeah, the whole thing stays super fun. It really is just like, if you've ever played a really good campaign or session of Dungeons and Dragons, where the people you're playing with are funny, but you're also sort of combating a serious force also, it's that perfect balance of everyone is goofy, everyone's making fun jokes, you like all the people at your table, but also you're fighting, a serious menace in the world of D&D. And that's exactly what Delicious in Dungeon Meshi is.
It totally weaves both of those elements together so well, and that's kind of tough, right? Where you want to be funny, but you want to be serious. It weaves them and does them both at the same time so perfectly that neither one compromises the other. So like the darker, more serious moments never make the goofiness less funny, and the funny moments never undercut a serious beat. They more so complement each other. It's like a push and pull of kind of audience energy levels. So like the goofy moments always feel like a reward to a really serious part. Either way, it is just a blast through and through. Go check it out. You love it. I guarantee that.
It's super great. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think one of the best compliments I can pay to it is that it is both one of the funniest and the most dramatic things I've ever read. And like you said, it balances those really well. I think a lot of series are all comedy or all drama, and you have to have a little bit of both. If you watch, I don't know, like even, what's a good movie to call out here? Even Schindler's List has a couple laughs in it, right? Like, and it does. If you've seen that movie, there's jokes, and it doesn't take away from the serious dramatic moments because it contrasts them really well. And Ryoko Kui, the author here, is really, really good at that. And yeah, Delicious Dungeon, perfect balance, excellent for any of you who are fantasy people. Hey, maybe this is even, if you're like a Critical Role watcher and you want to read some manga that makes you feel the same way, Delicious Dungeon. There's your suggestion.
Also for people who are home cooks.
No. Not this one.
I didn't say professional chef. I said home cooks.
I don't know. Okay, maybe. My history's picking up. The stuff they make in here is not real, and it's also not. They're not real. They're not real recipes.
I ate dragon meat last week. You can't prove I didn't. All right, onwards.
All right, we're moving on. Okay. Next up, and we're gonna get kind of into a little bit harder sells as we go on. This is a lot of people. Some of you might, let's say it like this. Some of you might already be into anime and manga, and you're wondering, how do I get, maybe I have an older brother or older sister who's, into more serious stuff, or my mom or dad. How do I get them to understand what I'm a fan of? How do I bring them into this Japanese media circle that we all kind of live in, where we enjoy things like this? Is there any way to get someone who maybe they really like premiere TV, right? Maybe they like The Sopranos or The Wire or, I don't know, what's the latest big HBO drama? Succession or something like that. Is there anything that I could give them in manga form that would help them understand sort of, hey, this isn't just, it isn't just ecchi, stupid, high school boys with demon powers, right? It's not all Bleach and Naruto. There's some other deeper stuff in here. So I put the suggestion for the avid HBO drama watcher, but I think this also applies maybe to just someone who is more mainstream and doesn't understand the Japanese media circle in general. I think you can give them Monster to read, and I think they will enjoy it. Monster by Naoki Urasawa is one of the most sort of adult, mature, serious. I mean, I read this how many months ago now? 6 months ago, maybe? And I remember talking about it, and I think I sold it as this is literally just a premiere HBO drama in manga form. The art is a lot less sort of cutesy and cartoony than a lot of other things. The storytelling is dramatic. It happens. Urasawa is a master at telling a story inside a single volume, and then he breaks his stories up into volumes really well. So each volume is kind of like a little, 2 or 3 hour short story kind of type thing. They all have their own sort of internal arcs and story arcs and things. It also just doesn't have any of the, I'll say it doesn't have any of the problematic things that appear often in other manga and anime, right? It doesn't have, stupid panty shots. It doesn't have weird jokes. The faces don't go all childish and cartoonish like I talked about. An adult can read Monster and they would think, oh, like this is not written for children. I would not give Monster to anyone under the age of maybe like 15. One, because I don't think they would get it. Two, because, it deals with some pretty heavy themes. But it's also got, Urasawa is excellent at building the world here based around sort of Germany and Ukraine, and the interaction between those two is sort of based in the real world and based in a lot of real things that happened after the fall of the wall in Germany, the Berlin Wall. But also there he has his own unique twist on things. If you're like a true crime person, I think they would like Monster. It's a little slow, but I think, again, if you're into this sort of HBO, the HBO premiere drama type stuff, Monster plays out, in my opinion, exactly like, Monster's probably maybe like a 4 or 5 season HBO drama. If they wanted to adapt it, they could just go straight through it and do that. It just works. It works so well. I think it is, I want to say it's like written by an adult for adults, because like most manga are written by adults, but again, it doesn't play down to kids. It's not written for kids. It is complex. It is deep. The characters have jobs. The characters are over the age of 16. Usually Masumi Tenma's like, I don't know, 35. Yeah, I mean, this is, and again, if you've heard about well-regarded anime and manga, you've probably heard about how good Monster is. In my opinion, Monster is one of, if not the best, pieces of art I have ever consumed. And I say that non-jokingly. I can't necessarily put it at the top because it's very hard to rank, how do I rank the best movie I've ever seen against the best TV show, against the best manga, but Monster is by far one of the best things I've ever read. And I think that anyone who's really into, Succession, and you want them to understand, hey, I read manga, read volume 1 of Monster, and you'll understand that there are stories in this medium, because, manga is just a medium, and anime too. It is not wholesale all one type of genre. Give them volume 1 of Monster, and I think that they'll hopefully understand that, hey, you can just, create dramatic adult, quote unquote regular stories. Although Monster is a little special, I guess. But yeah, it's just an excellent series. Cannot recommend it enough.
Nice. Yeah, all of Urasawa works are great. Mm-hmm. At least that's what I hear. I haven't read any of them.
Everything that I've read is
read
good.
Most of them.
Monster, I think, is the easiest to digest for a new reader, just because it's a little bit more straightforward. Pluto is shorter. I think I could recommend Pluto here. Pluto also is a little bit more fantastical because it's sci-fi and has robots and stuff in it. And if you tell people that it includes Astro Boy, they may be just going to be like, nah, whatever. 20th Century Boys is too long, I think, for the initial reader. I don't think
anyone who needs the Monster Rec knows who Astro Boy is.
That might be true. Yeah, 20th Century Boys is too long, and also very, very steeped in Japanese culture. I think Billy Bat is the other one you could put here if you're a Western reader. Billy Bat is much more tied in American culture. But Billy Bat is also a little fantastical and weird. Like I said, Monster, very grounded, very serious, basically just a sort of murder, not even a murder mystery, just kind of a police chase murder, personal revenge story type thing. So yeah, it's just excellent and good. Let's see, who's the next person we're going to make a recommendation for? Gautam, tell me about them.
Yeah, for people that work with kids or parents, I would recommend Gakuen Babysitters. It is adorable. It's a slice of life show about a kid who is a babysitter. And what I like about this, well, honestly, I would put the Yotsuba here first, but I always recommend Yotsuba to everyone for everything. So
that's on our other recommendation list if you want to check it out a couple weeks back.
So go check out Yotsuba. But this is great because I like that the little babies and the kids act like little babies. Meaning they are adorable, it's a fun little slice of life, but they are also snotty and tantrumy and go through all the phases of meltdowns that little babies this age do. It's like a kind of a perfect balance of cute and ew yuck at the same time.
And which is what real kids are like.
Yeah. So I think Gakuen Babysitters is just pretty great, and it's an enjoyable read every single time a chapter comes out. It's pretty far in, so you'll have a lot of content, but it's such an easy read. Also, there's an anime. I haven't seen it, so
yeah, I saw that there was an anime when I was looking up this, but
yeah,
and I think this is
I don't know how the anime is, but I do know the manga is just a really tight read. So go check it out.
Yeah, and I would say this is if you are looking to recommend things to other people, as we were here, I think it's important to sort of give them something they are familiar with initially to latch onto. And if most of your parents have raised children, I would assume, maybe, or, I put, childcare workers, brand new parents, stuff like that. People who want to, if you want to tie someone to this sort of or tie yourself in to something that you want to be connected with. Raising children is a pretty universal human experience. We all were raised by somebody, assumedly. So yeah, I think childcare, raising kids is a great way to do it. This is a super cute series. Like Gautam said, really easy read. There's nothing really difficult or tough to get through here other than gross kids. So,
even that's fun. Go give it a read.
Awesome. Let's see. Next on the list, this is a big one. This is a big one for me because I grew up being this guy for a while. The Western superhero comic book reader. I would even say maybe, hey, if you're here and you've just seen a bunch of Marvel movies and somehow you want to make the jump over to manga, which is a weird one. I assume you've probably seen some anime at that point, but hey, the best thing I can give you here, and I think there's actually a lot of things you could suggest here. I think the best thing you can get here is One Punch Man by Yusuke Murata and One. Again, you've probably heard about One Punch Man, and there's a reason. This is an incredibly well-written series. It is incredibly fun. This is the best action paneling in any comic at all. If you read One Punch Man and then go back and try to read Western superhero comics, you're going to be like, man, I can't follow this action at all, because the action One Punch Man is just like that good. This one, I don't know if I have a whole lot to say. There's a couple other things I could maybe mention in here. I do think My Hero Academia is another maybe good sort of intro swap over if you're a comic book reader, but even further from that, I would say My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Yeah. I would say Vigilantes is also good, and Vigilantes ties over the authors who made Vigilantes are now publishing something called Spider-Man Octopus Girl, which I think is another decent transfer over if you're a Spider-Man fan. And I almost put that in here, but I think it's a little too short. We're only at maybe, I think like 8 or 9 chapters so far. But there's also
It's been like one of my favorite, like, I don't know, what a great version of Doc Ock. I feel like Octopus Girl is very fun.
And it's got a lot of familiar faces are popping up there. The Superior Spider-Man is now in there. A couple of things that I don't even remember their names of, but things that you may not know about if you're a Western comic reader, since we're manga readers, there's also a series called, Spider-Man, it's not Code Red. It's just Spider-Man Red? I thought it was like Fake Red? It's Fake Red, right? I think it's Spider-Man Fake Red, or Spider-Man Red, one of those. I don't know. You can Google it and find it.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man Fake Red, I've heard really good things about that. I believe is completed. That's just a Spider-Man manga, as far as I can tell. I think it has like a different guy who's Spider-Man. It's not Peter, from what I understand. But
personally, I think you nailed it in one with One Punch Man.
Yeah, the real thing is, it doesn't matter if you're DC or Marvel or you read Batman or Spider-Man. One Punch Man is the thing to go to because it's going to play with and have a lot of fun with all of these tropes that you already know from all these superhero comics. So,
yeah, it's more or less a parody on what you already love. So, yeah, it's great, and it looks better than it has any right to. Murata, he's the best artist in the industry.
He's the best artist in comics, is what I pretty often say. I don't think anyone in the West can give him a run for their money and how good he is at paneling and art composition. He's an amazing manual artist. He's an amazing digital artist. Yeah, the One Punch Man is just the thing. And I think that I think you have to note that it is, what's the right word for it? It has some fun with the tropes from comic book stories. So don't go into it thinking you're going to get a straight across the plate, Superman, Batman type story. It's having a little bit of fun with them, but I think that you'll like it because you'll see a lot of stuff in there where you go, oh, that guy he's the Flash, but they're having some fun with it. This guy is more Batman. This guy is, Cyborg or whatever, but they're having some fun with it. And there's just going to be a lot of familiar things that you can relate to here. So yeah, One Punch Man by Yusuke Murata. If you're a Western superhero comic book reader, this is, I think, an easy one to hop over to. And I think there's probably a lot of people who are Western comic readers who maybe have already watched or read One Punch Man. So I think the overlap there is already pretty big. So I think it's a pretty easy suggestion. All right, Gautam, tell me, this is an interesting one when you sent it to me as a recommendation, but hey, it's a very specific group of people, but maybe you fall into it. Tell me about it.
No, it's a very underrepresented group of people. This is for any Nordic readers with a good sense of humor. And for you, I have Helck. It's about a Viking. I know you can relate. And it's just a massive shitpost at the beginning. It's hilarious. Helck is this overpowered Viking dude, seemingly with an unknown background, who is just insanely, obscenely overpowered. Like at the beginning, he has to like race on a horse. He's in like a race, and he carries his horse because he's faster than the horse in order to win. Like it's just goofy shit posting, and then at around the midpoint in the story, it takes a very serious turn into serious business, and that's well written. And then it goes back to goofiness. But yeah, it's bizarre. It should be a tonal mess, but it's not. It's just a wild ride. And I guess that's all I can say about it. It's hilarious. It's surprisingly nuanced, and honestly just a good read. Also, it got an anime recently, which is weird.
Yeah,
because this thing is pretty old.
All right, you got me with a double feature here. Helck is if you have a good sense of humor. Tell me about the rest of the Nordic readers.
Well, if you don't want to laugh, then there's something for you, Nordic readers with no sense of humor. It's Vinland Saga. Mm-hmm. And I assure you won't be laughing that often. Maybe not at all. It is a dark Norse fantasy about just about war. The major theme is kind of just how war.
It's a big anti-war piece, right? Kind of like Attack on Titan.
It's a huge anti-war piece that starts out with a lot of badass battles that kind of glorify how cool these fighters are and how badass it is, until it's not. And anyone who's reading or anyone who's perceptive could probably see from the beginning that it's not supposed to be badass. But goddamn, some of these fights are just thrilling and wildly entertaining to read. And then the story pivots into a very apt anti-war piece.
Yeah, this is another one I think it falls into. Yeah, falls into the sort of you could recommend this to someone who likes just good TV, right? I'm trying to remember. There's a lot of good Viking. Is there a TV show just called Vikings? And then there was
there is.
There's a Netflix show that a bunch of my friends watched about the Vikings invading England, and I cannot remember the name of it. It was on Netflix. But if you like that show, you'll like this.
I love how we assume all Nordic people are just consume Viking related stuff. Also, shouts out to God of War and God of War Ragnarok.
Yes, if you there you go. Yeah, if you liked God of War and God of War Ragnarok, this is this easy stepping stone straight into Vinland Saga. So yeah.
I'm sorry I stereotyped all of you. I hope you have.
It's a joke. It's in jest.
The Nordic people with a sense of humor are laughing right now. The Nordic people I recommended Vinland Saga to are downvoted.
Yeah, all of the future Helck readers think this is hilaright, and all the future Vinland Saga readers are sailing their longboats. Yeah, they're sailing their longboats towards you. So. All right, we're getting too deep into the
No, that's funny. Okay. Next.
Yeah, Vinland Saga is a really good one though. I mean, this is another one that I think if you're an anime watch or an anime enjoyer, you'll know about Vinland Saga, and you'll know what kind of premier drama it is. So
absolutely, yeah.
So this is one in keeping with the sort of let's find a funny guy out there who might want to read some manga. This is for the dude who thinks John Wick and The Raid are the best movies ever made, because he likes assassins and cool action, and the choreography is what he's all about. It's Sakamoto Days by Yuto Suzuki. We've talked about it in the past on this podcast. Gautam and I love Sakamoto Days. Sakamoto Days is hype choreography, the manga. That's what this is. And if you like John Wick, if you like the sort of creative kills, creative fights, or The Raid, which is these incredibly well choreographed fight scenes, Sakamoto Days is gonna tickle that itch for you, and is gonna be a really good entry point into manga, because Sakamoto Days is about what is his first name? Something Sakamoto. I don't know. It's about Sakamoto. Taro. That's right. Taro Sakamoto, who is a retired assassin. He's the big guy on front, and his sort of group of sidekicks who go and try and protect his family and do good things. And it's got a sense of humor to it that is really great. And it's also just got like the best fight scenes in any manga of like all time. Like the most creative fight scenes I have ever seen. Very early on, I want to say chapter like 4, 5, 6, something like that. There is a chase scene with two people being chased through a sort of like supermarket area, and the way that they use like it's a golf club and a frying pan and all these different things, it is not what you would think. I say that, you go, oh yeah, picks up the golf club, probably hits somebody with it. It's like, no. They are picking up these items and they are doing creative things with it. Taro Sakamoto at one point grabs a sort of like overhead handlebar from a train. If you know what I'm talking about, right? You're on the train, the bar, you grab it to stabilize yourself. He grabs one of those and uses it as a weapon. What else has been like used as a weapon creatively in this series?
He used the wheel of a plane to roll off the wing to launch himself at an enemy.
Yes.
And he rides the wheel like one of those things Paul Blart rides.
Like a Vespa? Is that right?
It's not. I forgot what
it's
called. But,
I know what you're talking about. They're in the new Final Fantasy game for some reason.
Oh yeah, they are weird. Either way, you're right. It is wildly creative. I think every single fight scene in Sakamoto Days is just insanely creative. Mm-hmm. And Sakamoto's fighting style is just improv based on whatever's around him. And I love that.
There's a point in the story where another very highly regarded assassin, and Sakamoto is sort of like top of the top, noted as one of, if not the best assassin. They say, oh, like, could you beat Sakamoto in a one-on-one? And the other assassin goes, if we were in an empty white room with nothing else on us, I think I could beat Taro Sakamoto. If he has anything he can get creative weapons with, I lose. And like that is the whole sort of just behind it. This is not, I will say, as a disclaimer, this is not quite as serious as John Wick and the Raid. This is a little bit more silly and over the top, you've noticed by some of the things we've been saying. But that being said, it's action forward, it's action heavy, it has excellent paneling, also very easy to follow action, great characters. The story's really simple, but like, who cares? You're not here for that. You're here to watch, what happened 2 weeks ago. There was a guy fired a sniper bullet through the like wheel of a tire that spun it around a corner to hit a guy. So it's stuff like that. If you like the movie Wanted, this is very Wanted-esque, I would say. But honestly, I think Sakamoto Days is better than The Raid. It's better than John Wick. It's better than Wanted. I'm also a huge manga fan, obviously, since this podcast. But yeah, Sakamoto Days is unrivaled in what it does. It's just the best at what it goes out to do, and that's the action choreography and the creative fights and stuff.
You know that scene in John Wick where he builds the gun for 3 minutes just to shoot one bullet and kill an enemy with it? And that was what the whole scene was for. That was like one of the most creative kills in that series. And I feel like every fight in Sakamoto has like something like that, akin to that. Does, yeah. And it's just a delight. So
it's amazing. There was I saw, maybe it was on Twitter, maybe on Reddit or something, someone posted about Sakamoto goes undercover as a teacher at one point, and these two at like an assassin school, and these two kids are trying to fight him, and he takes him down with, I think it's like a pencil and his folder, and he just uses those as weapons, and he parries a knife with his pencil and then throws the pencil and it like stabs the guy into a wall, and he's using the folder and then he like throws it, uses distractions of paper. Yeah, endlessly creative.
It's great. Yeah,
it's so good.
What fun.
Yeah, cannot recommend Sakamoto Days enough. All right, Gautam, this is a place that I do not dare venture because I do not like horror. So tell me about this.
Yeah. So for all those people out there who feel like there's an unknown force kind of oppressing them and making them miserable, it's not society. It could be just eldritch horror. And that's what this is. Uzumaki, otherwise known as Spiral. And it is by Junji Ito. You might have heard the name. Or maybe not. Junji Ito's work is all quite old now.
Yeah, still one of the most well-known mangaka in the West, especially in horror.
Yeah. So you maybe have heard of him. This is probably his most famous work. And what I described is effectively the concept behind eldritch horror. This is very much reflected in Uzumaki. Effectively, the townspeople start seeing spirals everywhere. And I can't even begin to describe
it's very hard.
In a way
it's very hard to talk about it without spoiling it, ruining it, or
even doing it justice.
Doing it justice because it's Junji Ito is he's very visually creative with the way that he creeps you out and scares you and makes you feel uncomfortable. If you ever see just Junji Ito draw like a smiling person in his manga, it's like the creepiest thing you've ever seen. I have read some, not all of Uzumaki. I don't think I made it to the end, and I've read the Fault at Aragami Falls, something like that.
Oh yeah.
A Secret of Aragami Fault, something like that. I think those are the only two things I've read, and it just creeps me out, man. I am the opposite end of this. I do not enjoy horror, and I cannot read his. But that being said, I can't read it because he's so good at drawing horror. Like there's a lot of horror manga that I've sort of taken a look at and tried to read, and a lot of it's like, oh, that's violent, or there's one or two creepy things in it. But Junji Ito is so good at it that I legit can't read it, like because I don't like horror, and he's so good at horror that reading it creeps me out, gives me nightmares. Don't like it. So if you're into that, Ito's amazing.
To add on to that, let me give you horror fans a quick pitch. Horror movies generally rely a lot on ambience, sound, and kind of just like visuals. You see a lot of jump scares. That's an effective tool, though I suppose a lot of people don't like that nowadays either, because it's like kind of a lazy tool, right? Just startling a person. Whereas kind of drawings, you don't get the sound, you don't get that kind of atmosphere, and you don't get jump scares. So you have to make something scary without relying on all of these staple tools that every horror director uses, or most horror directors use. Junji Ito does this in spades. It is so unnerving, so unsettling, and it's just all drawings on a page. You're reading at your own pace. By all means, you're in a spot as well that you're probably in your house, very comfortable. He somehow pulls you out of every sense of comfort with Uzumaki, and I think it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's super scary and super good. I will say something. You mentioned jump scares. While you're right that you can't really do jump scares in manga, but there's sort of there's a thing that Junji Ito is like one of the best at that I've ever read, which is like the page turn reveal, which is it's not really a jump scare, but all mangaka can use this to sort of like, you turn the page and like, boom, there's something big or exciting, or in Junji Ito's case, scary or creepy on the next page. And he does that so well. Like, even if you're reading digitally or something, he'll build up this tension, and then you'll turn the page and you'll go, oh man, I don't know what's going to be on this next page. It's going to be creepy, it's going to be weird, and you'll turn the page and he'll still sort of shock you and stun you by making it even weirder or even creepier. And it's like, oh man, I can't do it. Like, I just literally, because I'm not a horror person, he's too scary because he's too good at making horror manga.
Yeah, he's freaking great at it. So yeah, go check this out. It is not a sequel to Naruto, nor is it a prequel. That's Boruto you're thinking of. Uzumaki's its own thing. Go check it out.
Boruto might be scarier than Uzumaki.
Yeah, maybe.
Depending on if you're a Naruto fan or not. All right, I think next up, is this the very last? Yeah, this is the very last suggestion. This is a very general suggestion as something that I think is very good, but I also specifically wanted to say, if you're the dude or dudette who vote brigades on my anime list to keep Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood in the #1 spot, hey, have I got a manga for you. And it would be from the same author. This is Yomi no Tsugai by Hiromu Arakawa. You thought that you could get through another suggestion, or even, hell, a fucking episode of this show without me mentioning Yomi no Tsugai? Ha, joke's on you. You can't. I will bring this up.
Absolutely not, you
No
chumps.
way. No way.
It was all for this.
It was all for this. All other suggestions, get out of here. It's all Yomi no Tsugai. Okay, back to serious for a moment. If you like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, or if you legitimately, like I do, think that that's one of the greatest anime that's ever made, and it's one of the most accessible, straightforward things that you can suggest to almost anyone, because one of the reasons I say this is a great general suggestion is one of the same reasons that if I were to make a list of good beginner anime for people who aren't into anime, I would probably put Fullmetal Alchemist and Brotherhood on that list, because, again, they don't have a whole lot of this sort of anime bullshit. There's not a bunch of, ecchi revealing clothing, none of that stupid stuff. It doesn't take place in a Japanese high school. It's in its own fantasy world that's even more westernized in Fullmetal Alchemist case. In Yomi no Tsugai, it's a little bit more Japanese, but it doesn't, isn't super invested in here. This is just, look, it had to show up on this list because I'm insufferable about it, but so many people love Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, right? There are clearly those people out here who go and vote Brigade Mal to keep Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood on top. If you're not reading this, shame on you, because Yomi no Tsugai is so good. I also think that as a general suggestion, right? If you say, well, maybe I've seen a couple of anime and they were all right, but I don't really like. Maybe you don't. I think that if you don't like that anime bullshit, right, which a lot of people don't, some of us deal with it, to varying different degrees. Like I know that between Gautam and I know that I can deal with a lot more ecchi than Gautam can. It doesn't bother me. I seek it out occasionally, but not often. I can just deal with that more than Gautam can. It doesn't matter. Both of us love Yomi no Tsugai. Gautam has read some of it, maybe.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Like it's 6 chapters.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, but Hiromu Arakawa just doesn't go into those realms, right? It's funny, it's straightforward. She's an amazing world builder. Yomi no Tsugai has great characters. It's solid. It also kind of has that fun, adventure-y feel to it. So, if you're looking for something that isn't as dour and serious as maybe like Monster or Vinland Saga, or maybe isn't as lighthearted as Gakuen Babysitters or Helck, this is the perfect balance, which is the same thing I would kind of say about Full Metal Alchemist. Yomi no Tsugai, Full Metal Alchemist, they're so balanced in how they do adventure, lightness, and humor, and action. It just has everything, and it's excellently written, and it's excellently animated or drawn, however you're consuming it. Again, like I said, you thought you were going to get through a suggestion list without me putting Yomi no Tsugai on it. You're kidding yourself, because this is literally my favorite thing being published right now. I love Hiromu Arakawa. I worship the page that she draws on, quite literally. So yeah, if you're just, again, looking for just a very general suggestion of something to get into, this is, I don't want to say unoffensive because that makes it sound boring, but again, it's unoffensive in a way that it doesn't have any of that anime bullshit in it, right? So.
Agreed. A good rec, and I think we should footnote this whole list by saying if you haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist, prioritize that. We're just working under the assumption that everyone has seen Full Metal Alchemist. If that's not the case, go rectify that. It's so good.
Yeah, and the good thing is, like, you can read Yomi no Tsugai, get up to the current chapter, and be like, wow, that's great. I want to read more of something very similar to that. And then you can go read all, the completed Full Metal Alchemist, which is great. You can go read Silver Spoon, which is completed, but also by Hiromu Arakawa.
She's a genius.
Absolutely a genius. One of my favorite artists of the 20th century. 21st century? We're in the 21st century. 21st century.
One of those two, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That is it for our list. I should have made a little recap thing, but let's go through real quick all of the things that we suggested in order. I'll just read them out here. Hey, for the massive anime fan who hasn't read any manga yet, we have DanDaDan. For fantasy lovers and D&D players, Dungeon Meshi or Delicious in Dungeon. For the HBO drama enjoyers, or maybe your mom and dad, Monster. For prospective parents or people in child care or who love kids, Gakuen Babysitters. For the Western comic reader, One Punch Man. For Nordic people with a sense of humor, there's Helck. And for Nordic people without a sense of humor, there's Vinland Saga. For the dude who thinks John Wick and The Raid is the best movie ever, or if you're just really into action and choreography, Sakamoto Days. For horror movie or horror enjoyers, Uzumaki. And for the dude who vote brigades Mal to keep FMA Brotherhood on top, and a very good general suggestion, it's Yomi no Tsugai.
Good shit. Good list.
And that's it for our little top 10 list. Yeah. So let's take a quick break, and when we're back, we'll do a little bit of news, a brief celebration announcement, and then we'll get out of here. So we'll be right back. All right. Let's continue with the news. The only news that I have here is, Gautam, it is our 1-year podcasting anniversary.
Happy anniversary, buddy.
Yes. Our first episode that was published with both of us, because I did this podcast for 2 or 3 weeks live alone, and then Gautam said, you need somebody else talking to, and I said, yes, that's much better. Published.
And the rest is history.
Was published, I believe, on November 2nd, 2022. So we're recording this on the 1st. This will be out on the 4th, I believe. So 3rd or 4th. But yeah, hey, 1 year in, how you feeling? Tell me how has the last year of podcasting been for you, Gautam? What have you learned? How do you feel?
You know what? It's been great. I love doing this thing. I don't care if people watch or not, because I think at the end of the day, and it's nice that people are, love you guys, but at the end of the day, what more or less I enjoy talking to my friend about things I like. Yeah. And I know you feel the same way, but
oh yeah, it's
interesting because critically thinking and talking about like pieces of work like this, make you appreciate them more. I know they do for me. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, before we did this podcast, we would essentially have the same conversations we have on this podcast, just sort of in day-to-day life, either in person or over Discord or whatever. We would just talk about this stuff anyways. And it's really nice, and it helps to sort of focus on like 1 or 2 things a week, 3 or 4 things a week. Because we used to literally just, every week, new chapter. I mean, we still do this now sometimes, but new chapter, something comes out, boom, talk about it. What is this? What forms are they using? How do you like it? And, suggestions for each other always. I wouldn't be here if Gautam didn't convince me to read more manga, and I wasn't sort of driven to read more manga to connect with you more. And then you got me to read One Piece, and stuff like that, which has changed my life literally in a good way. I love One Piece now. It's great. Can always be there for that. So yeah, it's been really good. I'm really excited to keep doing it. Excited for the end of the year. We got some exciting stuff coming. We're gonna do our manga award show again, like we did last year, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of hot competition this year, especially for things like what's the best new series or what's the best series that ended this year. Those are 2 big ones. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more. And like you said, we don't get very many views. I don't really care. We had 2 videos in the last year kind of pop off, but we've been growing, very, very slowly, and that's totally cool with me. If we get, 2 subscribers a month, which is about what we get, cool. Eventually, maybe it'll go a little quicker, and then we'll see. But that's not what it's about. So.
This will keep happening as long as we enjoy talking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And at the moment, I think it's safe to say we both love manga, and that's important. So
I hope that and I hope that comes through in the episodes you've watched, maybe just this episode or maybe a couple more. But yeah, I mean, we really do this because we really love manga. We really like talking about it. I think everybody likes talking about the things they love, but I hope that our love and appreciation of this art form really comes through. And yeah, I hope that maybe some of you can join us over here on the manga side where we don't watch much anime anymore. But that's all I've got really for news, Gautam. So tell me, let's do one more thing of our week here. Tell me what you've been doing here.
Yeah, I've been playing Spider-Man 2. Great freaking game. It is the most fun, probably one of the most fun traversal in any video game. It's just an absolute blast. I went on the subreddit. They are just shitting on the game. Like, really? They're like very passionate Spider-Man fans who are like finding faults in Peter's depiction here in certain. And I'm like,
interesting.
I'm like, as a not big Spider-Man fan who is enjoying the game, I went into the subreddit and I'm like, wow, this level of investment is not relatable to me. I bet like normal humans listening to this podcast will think the same about us in manga, but allow me to be a hypocrite and say those guys are crazy.
Luckily in this episode we didn't spend much time shitting on manga we don't like, so
yeah,
there are those episodes if you want to go back and look for them, so feel free.
I hope Horikoshi never listens to this.
I was about to say, find any of our past episodes from the past year that have My Hero Academia in the title. You can listen to some fun riffing because we have some issues with that one. But cool. Yeah, this looks good. I don't know.
In my opinion, it's a great game. It's fun.
It looks great. It looks awesome. I never finished the first one, so I'm just kind of like, yeah, I know I would enjoy this if I kind of had the time to get through it. But
they fixed your problem that you had with the first game with the controls. They have an option to invert and uninvert. So.
Yeah, and they added that to the first one after like a month or something. So maybe not even that long. Like I tried to play the original Spider-Man PS4 game, PS5 game, whatever it was. And I am an invert Y and double invert camera guy for third-person games, and they literally did not have an option to invert Y. And it's like, I just can't play your game. Like, it is so hard to rewire my brain after 30 years of inverted playing. It's just like, you just can't.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it would I would be
fair.
okay. I would do it, I would mess up, and then I would be okay for like a minute or two. And then if there's any downtime where I'm not moving the camera, my brain goes, I'll press up to move the camera down. It's like, nope, up moves the camera up. Couldn't handle it. But yeah, I know that they fixed it. I went back and played a little bit of the original. It's still also a great game. Yeah, sounds good.
I think if your game library is full at the moment, just wait. It'll go on sale and you can grab it.
There's a lot of stuff out there for sure. Let's see. I have been watching. I watched the first 2 episodes of Pluto anime on Netflix.
I thought this was a movie.
The first 2 episodes together are like 120 or 130 minutes long or something. So yeah, it basically is a movie.
Thoughts?
But yeah, it's good. As an adaptation, yeah, find no faults with it, other than I hate to just call out the Japanese language, but the way that they say, so the main inspector guy, he's not in this picture. His name in German, he's a German robot. His name is spelled Geistcht. Geist is how I would say that.
Geist. Yeah.
In Japanese, his name is like Gezhite or something. They say it really weird, and it's like, and I like maybe want to try out the English dub, but I know I'm a dub hater, so subs for me. But it's really good. It's even something that I think that is maybe even better than the manga, which I think the manga is excellent. I had a rant about it, I don't know, 7 months ago, maybe when I first read it. Astro Boy, Adam, who I literally, if you can tell, is the little poster that's back here in my room. I'm pointing at it. Yeah. That
you
is
were named
Tetsuo.
after him.
Incorrect. He is Atom. Tetsuan Adam back there. I had to, after I read Pluto, I had to have some kind of representation in my room of this work, because this work it affected me so much and is so good. I think that Adam in the show, there's something about like hearing a child's voice and having it still be this kind of like mature robot, like writing, I guess. I don't know how to say it. Adam obviously is like an advanced robot, like a bunch of the main characters are in this series, but he is like presented as a child. So it's just really interesting. It's really cool to see like the movement and stuff like that. I saw a lot of people complaining that this is like, there's no action. I hate it. It's so boring. And it's like, yeah, listen, if you're new to Urasawa's works, they are slow burns. But they're super interesting. I think that, there's mystery in all of them. There's mystery in Pluto that I don't even remember. I don't remember even every turn of it. So yeah, I'm excited to watch it again. I'm going to do maybe like an episode a day, but, cause they're long. I mean, it's 8-hour-long episodes essentially, but yeah, I would say watch the first 2 or 3. And if you're still into it, then whatever. But yeah, it's excellent so far. So
yeah, I don't know. It's like people who watch True Detective and expect like action-packed.
This isn't
stuff.
like in CIS.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you went in with the wrong expectations.
Yeah, for sure. The expectation here is this is a slow burn murder mystery that's 8 hours long. It is not an action series. No, it's not an action series. Not what it's about. Cool. I mean, that's it, I think, for our episode. Hey, thanks for listening and watching, everybody. If you've got suggestions for maybe what you think is the best brand new manga to bring somebody into the fold, so to speak, leave them in the comments. We'd love to have more comments, more interaction. Maybe you think there's a better suggestion for Nordic people with a sense of humor than Helck.
Yeah,
let us know.
Nordic people, let us know what you like. But only if you have a sense of humor. We know you like Vinland Saga if you don't.
Yes, we're just absolutely sure you like Vinland Saga. We're gonna get in trouble if we keep leaning into this joke too much. So.
Okay, yeah.
Let's back off it. But anyways,
before Odin gets mad.
Don't forget to leave us some feedback, comments, give us an upvote, thumbs up, follow, whatever. Any positive reinforcement you can leave to us, please go do that. We really appreciate comments. We had a lot in the last couple of videos. We love that. We love your subscriptions. Check out Twitter and Patreon. Those are linked in the description. Gautam, tell everybody goodbye. Don't forget.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, thank you again for being with us this week, and don't forget to read more manga. And recommend them to your friends and family. See ya.